Hello everyone, welcome to Diagnose It. Today we have a case of a 34-year-old gardener who presented with these kind of painless nodules and ulcers developing over a period of 3 months, and this history of no response to antibiotics. By all this history, we can make a list of differential diagnoses like cutaneous leishmaniasis, cutaneous nocardiosis, cat scratch disease, chromoblastomycosis, pyoderma gangrenosum, pyodermatitis, and a lot of things. We can think about a diagnosis, a presumptive kind of diagnosis by this no response to antibiotics and a patient being gardener. That our diagnosis can be a sporotrichosis. But we cannot confirm it till we get the histopathological examination done. Now let's discuss what is a sporotrichosis. It is basically a subacute or a chronic infection that is caused by a thermodimorphic fungi named Sporothrix. This is the genus of the group that cause this kind of symptoms, this sporotrichosis. In this genus, there are earlier only one species was known, that is Sporothrix schenki, but currently there are a lot of species. And the main one among them are this Sporothrix schenki that we know, other is Sporothrix mexicana, other is Brasiliensis, and other is globose. These four are also found to be doing this sporotrichosis in different parts of the world. There is one more property of this Sporothrix, that it is a thermodimorphic fungi, which means that this fungus occurs in two different forms at two different temperature. Like before the temperature less than 35 to 37 degrees Celsius, it is present in the form of a mold, and after the temperature of 37 degrees Celsius, it is present in the form of a yeast. There are two things about this thermodimorphism, that one is why it occurs and one is how it occurs. So how it occurs is, it is regulated by the calcium that induces the RNA and protein synthesis in the yeast cells, and at the temperature range of more than 37 degrees Celsius, this calcium channels are activated. This leads to the transformation of this fungus, this mold, into the yeast form. Next is why it occurs. It is a survival mechanism by which this fungus survives inside the warm-blooded animals like us humans, like after the range of temperature 37 degrees Celsius. Next is how this fungus is transmitted to the humans. This is found in soil, the marine animals, the wood decaying vegetations, and in the agricultural waste also. So the more prone individual for this are the person working in the agricultural community, like this gardener that we have. Other individuals at risk are the person working in as a farmer, as miners, as horticulturists, and the hunters. And the route of transmission is, one is the agricultural trauma and the other one is a zoonotic route of transmission. The other one is the inhalation of this the spores of this fungus. These two are not the major modes of transmission, but yes, these modes are also reported. And the zoonotic mode of transmission include the animals like snake, birds, cats, rat, and squirrels also. Because of these risk factors, it was also known as rosebush mycosis or a gardener's mycosis in earlier times. Now let's discuss what happens from the starting to the end. So firstly, a trauma occurs at a site on the skin, and at the site of trauma, a papillonodular kind of this skin lesion develops, which takes around 2 to 4 weeks after the trauma. Afterwards, this lesion that developed at the site of trauma, these lesions ulcerate and fistulize, leading to the drainage of pus. But remember, these lesions are painless here. And this single lesion is also called as inoculation canker. Next one is this fungus progresses along the lymphatic channels, leading to the distribution of this rash. And yes, these lesions can be both ascending as well as descending, depending on the anatomical site where the lesions are occurring, where the primary canker is. And along the lymphatics, the similar kind of nodules develop. and later they also ulcerate. There are some atypical presentations also. Sometimes the progression of the fungus may halt at the first inoculation canker itself, and there is no regional lymphatic spread in that case. And in some cases, a large ulcer may develop, or sometimes a vegetative or infiltrative kind of lesions may develop. Crusty lesions may also develop. In some patients where the immunity is quite low, like in patients of AIDS, patients with diabetes, patients on steroids, there are symptoms of multiple skin lesions that are disseminated at the same time. Usually from the primary canker to the development of these many skin lesions, it takes a lots of time. But in some cases, due to the less immunity, all these skin lesions, these occur at the same time. Till now, these are the basics about the sporotrichosis. But this disease do not end here. There are a lot of other manifestations also. Like this disease may involve mucous membrane also, in which the ocular mucous membrane is most common, and it can lead to the conjunctivitis, episcleritis, uveitis, and retrobulbar lesions. It can also affect the lacrimal duct and may lead to dacrocystitis also. After that, this disease can also involve the osteoarticular system and may leads to monoarthritis, or sometimes bone resorption and osteolytic lesions also. As we discussed earlier, that the one mode of transmission is inhalation of spores also, and due to the inhalation of spores, the pulmonary sporotrichosis develops, and the symptoms of pulmonary sporotrichosis are like coughing, dyspnea and hemoptysis, depending on which site of the lung is involved. And the most common site of lung that is involved is the upper lobe, and it mostly present as a cavitatory lesions, and sometimes reticulonodular infiltrates and fibrosis also develop. And in the patient whose immunity was quite compromised, it may lead to the development of sepsis, and then patient may die. And in the general individuals, only the skin lesions are present. Then these skin lesions may heal or may lead to the development of hypersensitivity reactions, like in any other inflammatory disease, like erythema nodosum, erythema multiforme, and Sweet syndrome also. There can be also reactive arthritis, and which can be migratory and polyarticular also. These lesions, after they heal, they leave behind a fibrotic kind of scar. And as we discussed, this disease also involves the mucous membrane, and it can also involve the duct of the this tear gland, and also the lung parenchyma also, that may lead to the blockage of tear secretion, as well as the blockage of the air entry, the air passage in the lungs. For diagnosis of this condition, firstly we have to correlate the clinical presentation with the endemicity of the disease. Like if there are more cases of this disease in that particular area, then the chances of having this disease in a person are more. In the laboratory diagnosis, we can demonstrate the dimorphism of the fungus by doing firstly the direct specimen examination, like in tissue biopsy, pus from the lesion, and in case of pulmonary sporotrichosis, we can get the sputum also. In disseminated cases, we can also take the specimen as urine, blood, and synovial fluid also. When we observe these yeast cells under the potassium hydroxide, then this characteristic cigar-shaped buds and asteroid bodies are also seen. But yes, these are not specific for sporotrichosis, but yes, these are seen. Other methods in the disseminated cases are the PCR and ELISA also. In ELISA, we can test for the antibodies against this. In the treatment part, there are basically 4 drugs for its treatment. One is itraconazole, next is potassium iodide, next is terbinafine, and amphotericin B. Itraconazole is considered as the drug of choice because it is quite effective as well as safe. The potassium iodide, the specific thing about it is it was the first drug that was used for the treatment of this sporotrichosis. You know the mechanism of action of itraconazole? It acts by inhibiting the synthesis of ergosterol in the fungal cell wall. Next is, in the severe cases, we also use this amphotericin B, and the mechanism of action of amphotericin B is it links to the ergosterol in the fungal cell membrane and modify the permeability of the fungal cell membrane. And in the prognosis of this disease, In an immunocompetent individual, this disease usually heals. It is not life threatening. But the main problem is the presence of scars that develop due to the fibrosis. And if this fibrosis may be present on the face and on the areas of the body which are visible, then they may lead to aesthetic complaints. But in the patients in which the immunity is quite low, like in the patient with AIDS, the disease is quite severe and may lead to even the death of the patient. There are some general preventive measures also that you can understand by yourself, like prevention from the trauma during the agricultural work, wearing gloves, wearing long sleeves, and wearing heavy boots, like especially puncture-proof boots that prevent you from trauma. This is all about sporotrichosis. If you have any question regarding this disease, you can write it in comment section and I'll try to answer it. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.